putting it on that little tiny box over there. All that is an old Celeron, like I think a 1.8 or a 2.4 Celeron. I've got 512 meg of memory in it. I've got a 40 gig hard drive. Boom. It's an Asterisk server. Now, could that be used in a business? Very, very small business, probably. But in a classroom environment, everybody's. How many of you got old computers that your IT department just says, here, you want them? Make them an Asterisk box. I'm actually running them for my class. We actually have old Pentium 3 850s. They work great. They work great. We have 256 meg of memory. Yeah, we can't put 100 extensions on it, but 2 or 3 works fine. Come on. Ah, there we go. Okay. Again, the Asterisk environment has, like many of the Unix distros, there's a lot of variations. Trixbox or FreePBX is one of the most popular because what they did is they took the basic Asterisk and just gave it a little bit easier to use front end. That was the main difference. It's the same, it's a generic vanilla Asterisk box, but their web interface, their web front end is just a little easier. Elastic, I don't know if anybody's ever played with it. Elastic is an Asterisk server, but what they did is they added a whole bunch of other open source things. For example, they've added email, IM, faxing, collaboration tools. So it's an entire unified environment. Comes very close to the full version of Cisco Call Manager. So it's really, really a good solution. Not as trivial to set up as Trixbox, but very effective. Zental, also used to be called this, is another one that, again, it is a much more definitive. So if you have some time, these are all open source. These are all easily downloadable as ISOs. You can run them. I've run all three in my VoIP class to show the students the differences. But they're all based on Asterisk, which means once you learn one, all you have to do is figure out where the difference is on some of the interfaces. Okay, so a lot of people have said, well, how much does it cost for us to set up a VoIP lab? Well, let's start. This is what it costs to set up this Asterisk lab. That's it. You have a basic repurposed computer, which as long as you have something like a Pentium 3 at 1 gigahertz, 256 meg of memory, 20 gig hard drive, 100 megabit NIC, and a VGA video. Does anybody have any of those extra just lying around in your labs? Good. You've got a server. The Gateway software, free. The soft phones, free. So how much does that cost? Isn't that cool? I like zero. Compare that to Cisco CME. Now, if you're an academy, this is what it's going to cost you. A 2811 route for a single environment, a single station. You'll need a 2811 router, about 12 and a half, about $1,250. You'll need a 4-port switch module, a WIC, to plug in. That's about $215. And you'll need a Cisco phone with power over Ethernet, or with power. This is assuming you don't even have a power over Ethernet switch. And that's $365. So for a single station, almost $2,000. I kind of like that, don't you? I like that over that. Now, are students going to see Cisco CME in more of the professional environments? Absolutely. But what are we teaching them? We're teaching them VoIP. We're not teaching Cisco. Well, we should. This will be your first class. This will be your second if you can get grant money. I mean, we do both. I do both in my classes because I have both sets of hardware. But I'm simply showing you that you can teach a voice class with all the same technology, all the same protocols, for almost no upfront dollar amount.
Yeah, it's way more than zero, but the other way to go is to look at eBay. I have 2 sets of CME I picked up off eBay. The router, the switch, and 3 Cisco hard phones for about $500.
Oh, no, I'm not saying you can't find it. I'm just simply saying a lot of schools have trouble buying off eBay. I'm just simply saying at the retail price. Right. But the free is still cool.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years to get to buy off eBay.
Yeah, that's true.
They're on my own.
Okay, so But there are some optional things that you might want to get instead, and that's what I brought with me today as well. For example, you probably do want to buy some hard phones. Now, I brought with me a couple of very, very simple, inexpensive SIP IP-based phones. These are Polycom 320s. The Polycom 320 is about $130 each. If you find them, I'm not saying you can find them you can find them less expensive. I'm simply saying that's what I found them on Amazon. That's usually the standard, close to retail price. In the back, I've got one over there, and we're going to play with these a little bit later today. I've got one over there and one over there. I've got Grandstream video IP phones so that you can demonstrate to your students how you can do video. Now, you can do video with the soft phones as well if you have a webcam in front of you. And again, I brought an extra webcam to play with. Here's another example, a really cool one. I've ordered one of these and I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll let you know next year how it's working out. It's called a Yealink. It's basically a Grandstream, but the cool thing is it's a touchscreen phone. It actually has a touchscreen. These Grandstreams, they're not touchscreens, they're just LCD screens, and you still have to use the keypad. Cisco, it's not a Cisco, it's really a Linksys. It's a Wi-Fi phone, and I got to figure out where I put it. I actually brought a little Wi-Fi phone. Bear with me for a second. There it is. I know I had it. There it is. It's just basically, it looks like a normal not a hands-free, a cordless phone, and it has a little charger mount. And it's IP, and it's wireless, 802.11GB, or 802.11BG. And in fact, that's why I brought my wireless access point. A lot of the phones, the Grandstream, the Polycoms, and some of the others, you can buy a power supply for them. I brought a little power over Ethernet switch. That was $250. And for the Cisco, I bought a D-Link. It was only $120. 4-port, works great. If you want to show how you can connect a standard POTS phone to a voice network, you need a terminal adapter. They're about $60 a piece. Now, if you really want to get into it, you can buy a card that plugs in to your Asterisk server that lets you connect your Asterisk server to a provider who will then allow you to connect to the PSTN network. And that's about $350. None of these are required to teach voice over IP, basic protocol theory and stuff. You don't need any of this. This is all you need for your basic class that teaches things like protocols, QoS, echo, all of the other stuff, echo, delay. Everything you need to teach for voice theory, you don't have to spend a penny on your hardware. This is cool, and it's not horribly expensive. You can mix and match this stuff and bring it in slowly and still manage to do a very nice VoIP environment for very little money. A couple of other things you'll need to make sure your IT department support. You'll probably need to have 100 megabit switch capability. That's not a big deal. You'll need desktop and laptop computers to connect to it. You'll need router connections if you want internet for stuff like that. And lots of long Cat5 cables. But that's not stuff that you generally are probably already have that in your facilities and are doing that. Okay, so let's take a real quick look at a document I've created. Now, I did this for my class. One of the problems when I was teaching VoIP for the first time is trying to get the students to think about the fact that if you haven't picked up a handout, please make sure you do so. This document simply is a way of writing down all the things like extensions, IP addresses, and all kinds of other things. So you need to have all of this ready to be able to work. So I just got a series of forms. They're pretty self-explanatory. These are all on your, I ran out of the CDs that have them on there, but on every one of the desktops in the room, there's a folder called, Utilities, right. The utilities have a bunch of utilities I was using with my Windows 7 demonstration earlier, but they also have all of the handouts, all of these in forms in both PDF and Excel. So if you have a flash drive, please feel free. If you don't, email me. I'll be happy to send you the material as well. Okay, now, let's play with tricks a little bit. Now, what I have done on each of the machines in the lab, you all have 3 virtual machines. You have a pre-installed tricks box. You have 2 Windows XP machines. So what we're going to do is as follows, and if you follow along with me, and the instructions, by the way, the instructions for everything I'm going to do is on the sheet entitled How to Set Up a TrixBox Asterisk Gateway. Now, I'm doing this in VMware. You don't have to. You can do this in a physical environment. The problem with VMware, I'll tell you this right now. When you try to set up extensions, that works perfectly. When you try to call from one extension to another, it doesn't, primarily because you're trying to call a phone that's on the same machine. The real cool part is to be able to call somebody else's phone. So what we're going to try, I tried it on Wednesday when I was setting everything up here, is that I was on one machine on my virtual machine, and I was able to call up somebody else's TrixBox on their machine. Because all your virtual machines are bridged onto the CCSF network. Thank you, Tim, for letting me do that. So everybody's on the same LAN, so you should be able to set up an extension on, let's say, your neighbor's machine, and you should be able to call him, or them, I should say. Now, I don't have a lot, but I do have a bunch. I do have about 8 or 9 headsets, if you want to play with it on a headset. But what I also want to do is, once you've had a chance to set up some of that in your lab, I'd like to take about the last 10 minutes. I have a live server up here. Set up some extensions. We'll walk through setting up extensions as a class. I'll set them up with your names on them, and let's call the hard phones. Let's make some calls to the hard phones and see what they're like. Okay? So if you'll follow along with me, has anybody never played with machines in a virtual environment? Is everybody fairly comfortable with that? Okay, good. Okay, so if you'll please kind of follow along. Hello, I'm going to move that down a little bit. There are no passwords set up. Everything is blank passwords. So what I'd like you to do is, let's see. I'm sorry. If you're not logged on to the main campus computer, if it's coming up, MPICT. There's no passwords or anything else. This is if you get the standard Windows 7 log on. You're already okay, except the person over there did a really cool screen. What I'd like you to do is open up the window called VMs. Open up the VMs window. There is a folder out there called TrixBox 1 MPICT. Open that one, please. There is the VMX file, this one right here, that's the configuration file that will automatically open the VMware player. I'm sorry, open up the VMs folder, then open up the one that says TrixBox 1 MPICT, and then look for the one that says TrixBox-base.
Base 786. Oh.
Just that one right there. Did everybody get it? Right there. Double click on it. And it should pop up. Now, TrixBox is a Linux distribution. Asterisk is too. It is running under CentOS. You can log in. If it pops up and says move it or copy it, just simply say I copied it. Because I did copy it and I haven't opened it up.
Download a tool for Linux?
No. Don't download the Linux tools. I'm sorry, it's one of those things I didn't get a chance to bring them up on every one of the machines in here. It works fine on my laptop.
It also says the following devices can be connected to the...
Just say OK or click it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to use them anyway. Just say don't download. If it asks you to download anything for the VMware tool, don't. Just say don't download. Just say OK.
Just say no.
Just say no. Good. Now, a lot of my students panic because they sit there and go, well, wait a minute, what do I do? I don't know anything about Linux. You don't do anything. All of the management utility for Trix and Asterisk in general, all of it comes directly off of the web GUI. As long as you have another computer, XP, 2000, Mac, another version of Linux, as long as you can get to a web browser on the same network, you're golden. In fact, we'll get there in just a second. At that point, we forget about this completely, except for one important feature. You've got to get the IP address of the server. The Trixbox server will initially pick up a DHCP address. So let's see if it picks it up. Please start.
Mine does.
Does yours come back? It should come back and give you an IP address. Jot down, if you have a piece of paper, or just take the piece of paper I'm giving you here, jot down this address. Yeah, jot down that address. You're going to need it in a minute.
Which one? The URL there?
No, yeah. The 147.144.135.
And it's asking for a login.
Don't even bother logging in, but if you really want to, the login name is root and the password is password. So and if you know Linux, it's a full version of Linux. You can do everything in Linux that you could do. But what I do with my class, I say you don't even have to know Linux to do this. That's exactly what's on there. That's the ISO. Well, that's not the ISO. That's the installation. The Trixbox CD, that's if you want to install it. I just decided, hey, give you a little takeaway. Okay, so everybody there? Everybody cool? Okay, go ahead and either move it out of the way or minimize the Trixbox. It's up, it's running, we're done. How long did it take me to install Trixbox, I get asked. My side of it, which is how many clicks I had to do or how many things I had to type in, I had to type in 3 things. You enter to boot it, agree to the license, root password. That's it. Now, it wipes out the existing hard drive. It assumes that this is going to be on a dedicated machine. Do not do this on a production machine. Spare machine or a virtual machine only, because it'll wipe the hard drive completely. But again, if you have an old repurposed machine, it's a great opportunity.
You can't put it into an existing Linux.
Oh, yeah. Not the Trixbox. The Trixbox, no. You could download the Asterisk service and install it that way. Absolutely. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to come back to the VMs, and you'll notice there are 2 Windows XP machines. Now, the reason for 2 is we're going to use one to do the initial configuration and to set up the first set of extensions, and then we'll use the others to call. Because we're going to use soft phones as opposed to hard phones. Okay, so double-click on the Windows XP. Either one. I don't care which one. It doesn't matter. The 2 are identical. Once you've opened up one of the 2 machines, look for the program down here that says Windows XP Base. Again, that's the configuration file. You can double-click on that one, and it will open up a standard Windows XP. Now, this Windows XP I've set up, I configured it, but I put very little on it. It's pretty much a clean install.
So we say we copied it.
And say, if it comes up and it says, yes, I copied it.
And we don't want the new version.
And you don't want the new version. Yes, the composite device is okay. If it asks you to upgrade the VMware tools, is everybody okay? Everybody okay so far?
Duplicate name exists on the network.
Oh, that's interesting.
When you get that.
Oh, you know why? We're all on the same subnet.
Yeah.
You're going to get that?
Okay.
It should be okay. If you want, you can go in. Does everybody know how to change the name of their Windows machine?
Like on properties or whatever?
Yeah, what you do is you right-click on the desk. You right-click on My Computer, go to Properties, and then just change the name. If you want to change the name, that's fine. But you know what? It won't be a problem for what we're trying to. It shouldn't be a problem for what we're trying to do. Yeah. See, we're getting duplicate names. I didn't even realize that because when I do this in class, every student is on their own. Because what I do with the virtual machines is I put them in NAT. So everybody's on their own subnet. I didn't think about that one in here. That's fun.
Yeah.
Those will be interesting to see if it works. It should be okay. Okay, so did everybody get their Windows desktop up and running?
Not here.
Okay. Let's go in and configure our server. So if you're following along on the instructions, I'm at step. Let's see. How did I get 4? Oh, I hate Word. Oh, sorry about that. I told it to renumber and it screwed me up. Yeah. We're on the second page. At the top it says step number 3, set up the TrixBox gateway server. Please open a web browser. I don't care which one you use. You can use Firefox or IE. I'm a Firefox fan. And by the way, I've tried it with Chrome and Safari, and it's fine. The only thing is you have to have Java installed. It is Java-based. They have a lot of Java stuff in it. If you don't have Java, it will say, I don't have Java, install it. Okay. Now, what we do at the top is type in the IP address that we just wrote down. So I'm going to type in mine at 147.144.135.130. Now, could you type somebody else's in? Sure, and you'll be programming their gateway. Now, there are 2 modes for configuring. Oh, did everybody not get in? No. Hold on. From within your. Oh no, type it in. Is everybody okay on that? Okay. What we need to do is we need to go into the admin mode. The admin mode is where you can add extensions, change extensions. Now, I am going into a very, very, very small subset of what you can do with Asterisk. It is tremendously powerful. In a class setting, we go through everything up to and including doing trunking between Asterisk servers. We actually, in my class last semester, when I taught it, I had 7 groups with Asterisk servers. We actually set up a peer-to-peer link between, basically a mesh network between every single one. Took them all night to do it. I had a couple of groups. They were there till 2 in the morning. And not because I was telling them to. They weren't going to leave until they got it all working. But they got every one of their servers connected to every one of everybody else's servers, everybody on different extensions, and they were making phone calls. Now, like I said, I've got a bunch of nut jobs in my class, and I love them. In fact, if they're listening, and I love them dearly. But they are crazy about this stuff. Anyway, all we're going to do, over here in the right corner, there's a little link that says switch. Did you get it okay? Okay. Now, everybody's going to assume, here's one of the downsides. This is not well documented. The downside is everybody thinks you type in root as your username. No, there's a special username for the Asterisk server, and the username is MAINT, M-A-I-N-T, all lowercase.
M-A-I-N-T.
M-A-I-N-T, MAINT. The default password for MPICT is admin, A-D-M-I-N. I do have this listed in the bullet point at the bottom. The first thing you'll need to do is to go into maintenance mode in the top right of the window, click on the switch link, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I got an error when I used MPICT.
Okay, let's try MPICT.
Well, let's see.
And maybe it's password.
It's password.
It's password. Oh, sorry. Did I put? I hope I put password in the instructions. Oh, good. I just want to make sure my instructions were good. Sorry. Got to stop drinking before a presentation. That's all there is to it. Okay, you can close the registration window. By the way, there's a way of completely eliminating the registration. First of all, you can register. It is free. Don't worry about this. You can register it, use it. Fontality is happy. In fact, I've talked to the people from them, and they said, oh gosh, yes, yes. So in fact, one of the things, and it's on the desktop, I have 2 documents out there that is Tricks Without Tears, volumes 1 and 2. They're PDF files. They walk you through all the setup steps. So really cool. Okay, now, in a very few minutes, in less than 5 minutes, you're going to be making phone calls, at least between the extensions. So we're going to set up some extensions. So what I'd like to do, and kind of follow along, it's in the instructions, but I'm going to go through it with you. We're going to set up 2 extensions, one for this Windows machine and one for the second one. Go to where it says PBX. The pull-down menu should then say PBX Settings. Now come over to under Basic on the menu on the left, click on Extensions. Now, the screen is a little bit confusing because you're going to sit here and go, well, how do I add an, I click here on Add an Extension. No. You're always in the Add Extension mode. What you'll do is you'll put in your first extension. Then when you want to add a second extension, then you click the button. This is the worst part. This took me about 15 minutes the first time I did this to kind of think of screwing around with it and said, okay, how do I add an extension? And then I read the manual.
What else was there?
It's like, damn. PBX, no. PBX extensions. Or no, PBX settings, you're right. PBX settings.
Okay.
And then set up here, basic extensions. Got it. Okay. Let's add an extension. Now, we're going to make this with a generic SIP device. A generic SIP device is any IP-based phone using the SIP protocol, Session Initiation Protocol. It's the easiest, cleanest, best to do. These phones support SIP. Soft phones support SIP. It's generic. That's another thing I really like. Cisco Call Manager, the Cisco Call Manager Express, Nortel's BCM, they use proprietary protocols. Asterisk uses SIP, or it can use H323, which are the 2 most standard, although SIP is now becoming the default standard for VoIP. So we're going to make sure we say it's a SIP device and click the Submit button. I am not going to go through all of the funky stuff you can do here, because there's some cool stuff. You can have so much fun with this, but all we're going to do is create a very basic extension with voicemail. So, if you turn to the page that at the top says Add SIP Extension, I have 2 panes. I'm going to go through each of them, so follow along, please. Now, for the user extension, give it an extension. Now, because we are all on the same subnet, let's decide to do extensions that are a little bit different. So let's say, for example, we can use the extension. We can start with any extension numbers we want. So yeah, why don't you take the number that's in front of your machine? So you'll be 101 and 102, 201, 202, 301, 302, 401, whatever it is, right? And again, you can have four character extensions. Yeah. Well, you can create as many extensions as you want, but we could all be 101. But the problem is we'll get into some problems when we try to call each other.
So this would be 11 here?
Yeah, so make it 1101, 1102, 1103. So make it that way. So use the first number, use the number of your computer, followed by an 01 and an 02. Yeah, so for example, your number is 19, so 1901. 2201. So I'm at 16, so I'm going to say 1601 for my first extension. Display name, I don't know, pick a name. Jerry. I'm going to put Bill, and again, first name, last name. This is what will appear on the phone. And this will appear when you call somebody, it will say call from, and that name will appear. Okay? Do not worry about the alias at this point. This is more advanced stuff. The secret is important because when your phone has to register with the server, it needs to make sure it has the proper password. For a classroom, I always tell my students, keep it simple. Your extension and your password are the same. Whatever your extension was, that's your password. Now, in the real world, you probably use some other password. But in a classroom setting, sure. So if I was 1601 for the extension, I'm 1601. And by the way, that number, the extension, is the equivalent of the username. The display name is just something that's just text. Still with me? You want to make sure I don't lose anybody? Scroll down a little bit to where it says voicemail and directory. Go ahead and enable your voicemail. And for your voicemail password, type in the same extension. Now I know this is not something that in the real world you'd want to do, but it makes it very easy in a classroom environment. Now, scroll to the bottom of the page, click Submit. Give it a second. And you will see, if you scroll back to the top, there is the extension, your username. Now, I'll tell you the gotcha. This is the biggest gotcha I have. Every student does this at least once during the semester. And it's one of those things where it's like, it is absolutely expected, and it's kind of fun. Because they'll set it up, now they'll set up the phones and they think they're ready to go. Remember, this is a frame-based web browser. So all it's done is it's put the data into the frame. We haven't actually put it on our servers yet. You've got to click the apply button. Now, you can create all your extensions and then apply at one time. Create your extensions and then apply, or create an extension, apply, create another extension, apply, create another extension, and apply. But you must apply before you start using it.
What's the add extension thing?
I'll show you in a second. So, still with me? Click the Apply Configuration Changes. Continue with the reload. So take a second. Now, on your own, without my prompting you, create another extension. Now you can click the Add Extension button, or you can just simply click the Submit button and then start filling in the data again. Okay, click Submit. Okay, this one I'm going to make 1602 for myself, and I'm going to make it don't forget, oh, thank you, Grace. See, Grace created one on my, and again, you can create extensions. Now that we're on the same subnet, you can create extensions on other people's servers as well.
And we also apply the configuration change.
And please apply the configuration. And by the way, you'll know if you haven't done it because it'll say it.
It'll turn on.
It'll turn off when you've applied all the changes. Do make sure you do that. And that's because it is a frame-based Java app or whatever. I don't know how the web page was coded. But when you fill in all the information, it's being stored in the buffers in the browser. Until you click the apply changes, it doesn't actually force it to the server's database.
So Bill is Gordon here?
No. I just created his name.
Oh, okay.
I just put his name on there for fun.
We're looking for him.
No. Okay, so now that we've done that, you can create as many extensions as you want. You are now done. The extensions are done. Now all we need is connecting the phone. So let's go ahead and set up a soft phone. Oh yeah, you'll probably want, if you want to try this, come on over and grab a headset. I'm going to grab mine. If you want to play with it this way, because we only have I'm going to take about 5 more minutes and then we'll take some questions. All of these headsets I brought in are USB based, so they should plug in and work.
And the microphone is just right here.
Well, I don't know. At this point, I would just watch him.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of walk you through some of this as quickly as I can. I'm going to go ahead and minimize. You can go ahead and close the browser. You can choose to close the browser if you like, or you can just minimize it. Okay, on your desktop, I have 3 different soft phones. X-Lite is probably the most popular. The only downside of X-Lite is that it has a little advertising banner at the bottom, the free version, 100% free, not open source, obviously. Let's use X-Lite because it is pretty easy to use, although Zoper, Z-O-I-P-E-R, is actually pretty easy to set up as well. They work equally as well.
I think I minimized that, but it's like done.
Oh, there it is.
So am I okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You want to minimize? There you go. There we go. Okay, so let's try to install X-Lite. Double-click on X-Lite. If you double-click on it, I don't know if this is going to work or not because of everybody trying to do this at the same time, because it's got to download a little utility and install it from Microsoft. We might try Zoper because it's a little easier to set up. And just follow the wizard. Take all of the defaults. You can change the defaults, but for today, just follow the defaults. Go ahead and install X-Lite. Actually, it will be really cool? Oh, you know what will be really, really cool to do? We don't even have to install the second computer because we're all on the same subnet. I'm going to try to call from my computer to one of yours. So let's see if we can do that. This will be an interesting little experiment. We've all set up extensions, and we have to know what those extensions are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys to connect to me. And my extension is 1601. and the IP address of my server, and I'll show you where to set this up in just a second. (142.144.135.130). So, follow along with this. X-Lite is now installed. It doesn't even have to reboot. Now we're going to set it up. Now we need to what's called register. We need to register our phone, our soft phone. We need to register our soft phone to the extension.
Are you 142 or 147?
I am 142, 144, 135.130. 130 is my server.
Requesting register 147 or 143.
Oh, first number is 142. Is it? No, 147. Sorry. Thank you. 147. Okay. Here we go. Click on soft phone. Click on account settings. Account name. I'm going to call this Bill's phone. Now you're connecting to my server, you're going to connect to my server, or you can connect to my server. But user ID, or you can connect to another. User ID, that's my extension, 1601. Domain, 147. Now, you've got to do this on your own. The first extension you have to create. The first extension you have to create is the one on your server. Oh, that's right. I can't. Oh, this isn't going to work. We have to create a extension. Okay, then we are going to have to create two extensions. You want to create the extensions? You would have to go on and create an extension on my phone. But I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. Like I said, time is not my friend right now. So it's 147.144.135.130. The password, 1601, because that's the password we set up. So any questions about it? Your extension, the server that you're going to register to, password. If you click OK, we're registered. Now, here's something what I'd like somebody to do out there right now. One of you guys, I don't care which one it is, remember we set up 1602 for Gordon and Grace, you set up yours. Well, you set up yours on mine. Grace is you've already established on my server. Call me. Pick up your extension, put on your headset.
Would I do contacts? I mean, how would I set this if I wanted to do this?
Oh, I'll show you in a second. Okay. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of do this. Okay. When you're ready to dial me, in the dials, type in 1601.
I'm dialing you now.
Okay. You're connected to my server, and you type in this address. Oh. I'm on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Hold on.
How do I add his?
Oh, no. You put in your own extension.
And what are the others?
You guys know how to
You're trying to dial yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, now try to call.
Can I add yours?
Okay, Grace is trying to call me right now. Does it still say? Okay.
While we're waiting, how do we add yours?
What you would have to do, now if you want to dial me, what you would do is you would put into this. First of all, you'd have to create an extension on my Asterisk server for you. Then what you do is in your soft phone, you simply put the IP address of my server with the extension you created on my server. And that's how it works. Okay. Actually, tell you what I'd like to do in a very, very short period of time. I wish I had more time for this. Can you guys bear with me for just a couple of minutes? I apologize for cutting into your lunchtime. Did it work okay? Did you guys get it? What I'd like to show you is really quick on the actual physical server I have up here. Actually, I probably could do it even tonight. Is show you how to set up a hard phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the extensions. I'm going to add an extension for the hard phones, and we'll show you how to set them up and make some calls.
You can call because you can use because I can't just do it.
It might be the way the headsets are working through the USB, through the VMware. And there's probably some other things that we have to connect. Yeah. It's one of those things, I tested it out on it's awful hard to set in a virtual environment. That's why I want to use the physical.
But if we're doing $0, we want this to work, right?
Oh, it works fine. If you do this without a virtual environment, if you do this on where there's a computer, it's fine. You just go in and you have to set this where you tell it, I'm using the headsets.
Okay. I'll wait. I'll miss lunch to do this.
Okay, yeah, I can walk you through it. Okay, what I want to do real quick, and I'm fortunate if I can do this without making myself crazy. This is where, remember I said we have to make a sacrifice to the demo gods? So all I need is hot swappable is the keyboard and mouse. There we go. 42. Okay, if you'll bear with me and kind of, let me show you up here, let me demo something real quick. Okay, what I'm going to do very, very quickly, if you don't mind, is I'm going to set up two extensions on the hard server, not the virtual machine, on the hard server I have up front. And 135, up 130. Helps if you type the right IP address. There we go. I'm going to set up the two hard. Oh, somebody's already dialing the hard phone?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard the hard phone dial. I'm going to set up the two soft phone, a couple of the soft phones or the hard phones, and let's try to make some phone calls. So we'll set up the extensions, and we'll go for it. So, first thing I'm going to do over here to show you how quick this is. Extensions. All right. First extension is, let's make it 301, and we'll call it phone 1. 301. If I could type, I'd be dangerous. And voicemail enabled, 301. Submit. Apply. Continue. Not internally. 302. Phone 2. 302. Yeah. 302. I'll set up, let's see, I'll set up 303, 303, 303, 3. And let's set up one more phone so we can play with the video as well. Okay, now, everybody thinks that you're done. My students usually go, oh good, let's start making calls to the phones. We can't. We have to set up the phones. Now, all of these phones can be set up from their keypads. Bad idea. Very difficult to do. Much easier to do it with the web browsers. Every single phone has a simple, easy web browser to configure. I've given you another sheet. There's another sheet up here that shows you how to set up these hard phones. Now, these are specific to the Polycoms and the Grand Streams, which is what I have, and the little wireless phone. But it's just as easy to set up just about any other phone that you want to follow along with. So, I'm going to set up very quickly. Yeah, there we are. Let's set up the Polycoms first. So we need to find out what the IP address is of this Polycom to begin with. So I've given you the instructions, but there's a menu that will tell you that it didn't pick up an IP address from the server. Let me disconnect it. So let's try this one. For some reason, that one didn't get an IP address. Menu. It's menu. I don't know if you won't be able to see it, but it's menu, status, network, TCP parameters, 147, 144, 135, 101. So that phone picked up the 101. Just like any other web configuration tool, type it in, boom, we can now program it. So we need to go to the SIP settings. Username is Polycom. Password is 456. The only thing you really have to set is your server address, and then we'll come over here to the extension and set up the extension that's going to be assigned to it. So in this case, I'm going to use the server address is 147, 144, 135. What's it, 130? No, 142. So we have 42 over here. Come down to the bottom, submit it. In the lines. So now we're attached to the server. Now all we need to do is tell it display name is, let's say, phone 1. Address is 301. The extension is 301. Again, the user password is 301. Submit. And if that worked the way I expected to, and it didn't, well, maybe the phone did. Oh, the phone's resetting itself. Once you program it, the phone has to then reset. That's why it didn't come back. So while that's happening, why don't I go ahead and set up the gram string? The IP address on the gram string is 68. Let's see what that does.
Can you answer the question?
Sure.
Okay. I was trying to set up yours online,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just wondering if I did this correct.
Yeah, but I've already set mine up, so it's probably giving it. Now, you gave it my address, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one question is, what password do I use here?
The 1601.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because it said it failed to set it up.
Well, I've already set it up. Remember, I already have my extension set.
Oh, so I don't need to. How do I want to know how to.
You'd have to set up another extension on mine. Set it up on 1602.
Oh, okay. In order to call you, I have to go back.
You have to have a separate extension.
So this one I delete.
Mm-hmm. So let's see if I can do this real fast. Account name, phone 2, SIP server is 147, 144, 135.68, no, 42, thank you. You don't worry about the proxy. The user ID is going to be 1602. And the password is 1602. Update it. Reboot the phones. Now let's see if this phone rebooted. Yes, it did. You know what? I had this working perfectly yesterday. I should have just left it alone. I decided to clear the phones and start over again because I thought we'd have enough time to do it all. Stupid idea on my part. So if this doesn't work, I mean, I'll be happy to hang around today and.
Do you want me to go down and get a couple of lunches and come back, or?
That's up to you guys.
Could that help you?
Well, I know Sam wants to come in here and get his stuff done, so I really can't take up too much time. But I'll be happy to hang around. I'll just go upstairs and grab a lunch and bring it down. Anyway, my time is well over, and I apologize for not finishing it up. But trust me, it works. And I'll be happy to help you guys set some things up and we can play with it. Thank you.
To get public service, what do you need?
Oh, public service? Fine. What you need to do is you need to pair that with a service provider. And there's a whole bunch out of here. I'm trying to find one that will do it for a college at a very low rate.
What's the typical rate for